Hello, thank you very much for the click. I'm not sure if you just stumbled upon this on YouTube or the internet, or if you actually bought the calendar if all goes as planned and you scanned the QR code that'll be here, hypothetically, that'll bring you to this little tutorial slash speed painting. But I'm going to show you my process of making this illustration. This will be page 1. My inspiration was I looked up what January mascot was, and they had like a guy apparently who had a head facing the future and the past, so 2 heads on a body. So this is like my take on it. So one represents the future and the past, but all I did was I thought I was going to draw 2 different people, but I decided to use the symmetry tool, draw one person, split them up, and I did the cleanup a little different. I did just regular cleanup with smooth lines on this side, and I did more of a jagged cleanup by hitting shift. I don't know why this doesn't want to work right now. By using the line tool to do straight lines on this side. Anyways, enough of me rambling about that. Before this breaks, I'm going to get into it. I'll minimize that and put on some music for you from the old audio library, free copyright safe music that YouTube makes if you ever need something like that. Just look for fair use copyright music, YouTube audio library. And I got some screen caps here. Try to keep this around the 10-minute mark. And let's watch me draw. I made my little template, did a scribble. My first attempt, I actually didn't use this. I didn't realize my style looks so much like 90s anime until I started doing this without reference. It froze up and I didn't use that, and I thought, okay, no big deal. Maybe the next one won't look so much like 90s anime. I don't know if you guys feel that way about my drawings, but if you saw the other one, I realized that it still looked like 90s anime. You're watching this for tutorial stuff. All the blue things are what's active in Krita. Krita, however you pronounce it. It's open source, it's free, Photoshop alternative. This is the tools I'm using, is the brush and the pencil tool. I got a layer going right here, and I got the symmetry tool on. I made a border already for the artwork. It's actually kind of not centered to the canvas for printing purposes in the future, but I was planning on manipulating this, duplicating this layer, turning the opacity down, using it as a rough to do cleanup, and then sliding one duplicate to the right and one to the left, and doing the different styles of cleanup on each. I'm just using the transform tool to move it. I duplicated the layer, slid it over. There's the move tool to do that. If you hit the shift button, that'll allow it to not slide around. You know, for anyone who's used to working in software, digital art, you'll know that shortcut's pretty common, standard from Photoshop. The one that isn't standard from Photoshop that I could have known, I was using the line tool because I was trying to hit shift and draw a straight line by hitting shift and connecting it like I do in Photoshop. Apparently you can do that by pressing the letter V in Krita. I found that after I did this, and I was using the line tool, which made me zoom in so I could have the line right on top of it without having too jagged, which ended up making the jagged stylization of cleanup a little more subtle than I wanted by the time I zoomed out, but it is what it is. I thought it would be faster to do that, but I feel it was actually kind of slower using the line for cleanup than just traditional paintbrush and drawing it with rounded curved lines. Well, that's about it. Now I'll show you the process I did for the background. Oh, you might notice there's this screen tone look. There's a brush option in here. You'll see later on when I work on the clock. You scroll down here and there's screen tone, which is pretty neat. I don't like too many brushes but that one inspires me. And I just added screen tone to a couple spots. Tried not to go too crazy with it. Allow people to have the option to color what they want. And when making an element, I decided to make a clock in the back. I used a lot of these tools to keep it crisp and clean. But if you wanted to do that and you're new, you might try to manipulate the way in order to make a complicated element to isolate the lines if the lasso tool or whatever doesn't work. I tend to make multiple layers, so that way it's on a layer, like this circle, then I made another circle, put on a layer so I can manipulate them, and then I'll merge the layers. Go in here, there's an option to merge or those layers if you hit shift and select them, and I do that as I make the element until I get it the way I want. That way I can mess with each component but not get too crowded with all different types of layers for something that's going to be in the background. I use the symmetry tool. Once I get it the way I like it, I'll merge it, turn it into its own single layer, and then work on the next piece of it. I flipped it because I wanted to point at like 12 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock. Then you can see I'm using the square tool to make rectangles with the symmetry on. When you do that, it'll kind of do weird things sometimes and give you a double line. I was cool with that. I like the way it looked. Just making up a grandfather clock out of my imagination. Sometimes I end up taking more time figuring out what I'm going to put in the background than on the actual, foreground pieces of the illustration. Continue with that same method of having its own layer for something. If you're new and you use these, this is the transform and this is the move tool. If you want them to do geometric or stay, if you want your rectangles or squares to be squares, not rectangles, or circles to be perfect circles, you hit shift while you slide the tool out to make the size you need. Use the line tool to give it a background, make it look like it's in a room, make the box and perspectives, kind of winged it, and put lines that are closer together to each other here. There's that screen tone brush I was talking about to give it some depth. Colored that in, and little spots I missed, touched them up. Erased the pieces I didn't need. That was it. That is this illustration. That was my process in making it. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you stay healthy, happy and all that stuff. I appreciate the click. Go ahead and tell your friends. This illustration will be available on Etsy. If you watch this as soon as it's posted, just give me a day to update that. And I guess that's it. I look forward to seeing you guys in the future. Hope you stay healthy and happy, and have a good one.